Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the 580 Show. We had an awesome episode this week with Cody Abell and Andrew Hanus. I just want to thank them for coming on, packed with information this week. So be sure to tune into the entire episode. Before we go into it, I just want to remind you all you can go to 580barbell.com to get your horsepower pre-workout. Also, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, 580 Barbell, and follow us on Instagram at 580 Barbell. Other than that, thank you guys all for the support. I appreciate it. I'm so thankful. And yeah, here is the episode. Thank you. Okay, we're live. We got Andrew, who was the number one 80 kilo at Strongman Corporation Nationals this year, and Cody, who was number two. Cody's making his second appearance on the episode. So you guys have already heard from him before, most likely, and Andrew's making his debut. So just kind of want to give a little bit of a background on both these guys. Andrew, when did you start competing in Strongman officially?
I had my first official Strongman competition in 2012.
2012. And you had a stint in the Titan Games, which was pretty cool.
That was a thing.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think a lot of people, when they think of lightweight Strongman, you're probably one of the first three guys that people think of. And you just podiumed at OSG, Arnold's coming up. And then when you talk about Cody, I think pretty much the same deal. One of the top 80 guys, super friendly guy. I think everyone has talked to Cody in our class at one point or another. So just wanted to get both these guys on here and kind of talk about Strongman for us lightweights and the future of what's going on. So I appreciate you guys joining me and yeah, we'll get into it.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate you having us.
So I guess we'll start with Andrew. What are your current goals, plans now that OSG's over and the next year or two for Strongman?
Man, that's a loaded fucking question.
Yeah.
But so yeah, since OSG's been over, I basically have not trained more than like 5 times at all. Got up to a whopping cookie and pie weight of 207 pounds. Working my way back down. Just a couple good bowel movements, really. And looking forward to maybe really Arnold kind of the kickoff for the rest of this year. There are a lot of moving parts. This is supposed to be my 10th year of competing. So my first contest was in 2012. We're now in 2022. So this is like my decadal period. So I wanted to do something kind of ridiculous. So I'd come up with this idea and I was calling it the Deca. And it's supposed to be 10th anniversary, 10 huge events, not all strongman. So I wanted to do strongman, powerlifting, bodybuilding, Olympic lifting, CrossFit. I wanted to ride 100 miles on a bike. Like I had all of these things kind of laid out, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna do what I can do towards that goal, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it a reality in a 12-month calendar year. We'll see. I got a lot of other things that are kind of prioritizing, like other life goals, career goals. So we'll see. But otherwise, strongman wise, just got the official invite to Clash. So I'll be doing that. I don't think I'm turning that down. I'm sorry, I can't. It's too exciting to not do. So that'll be August. Otherwise, I don't have any plans outside of those 2 strongman contests this year.
So you've been competing for 10 years, basically this year. What did you look like? That's crazy. So what did you look like when young Andrew Hanus started in 2012? Like, what type of competitor were you? Like, did you jump on the scene and you were immediately like, I don't want to make your head too big and say dominant, but were you really, really good when you first started, or has it been a long haul these 10 years?
It's been a long haul. I was getting my ass kicked off the go. I started when I was in the military, actually. So I was still active duty. 100% of my time commitment was to, our operations. I was a dog handler. So I had a very active career, physically active career, which allowed me to kind of at least maintain a certain level of fitness. And I did a lot of active things to try and at least stay better than the rest of my squadron. And I never, other than trying to do like extreme distance running, I never got too crazy. But I would say like off the go, because moving around in the military, it's so hard to really do strongman training. It was just way easier to do powerlifting and bodybuilding because no matter where I went, I could always rely on a barbell and dumbbells. So it was really easy to kind of just stay focused in that direction. So I did my first strongman comp in 2012, and I didn't do another one, I think, until 2016. And so like I ghosted for a while, but during that period, I was doing competitive powerlifting as well. And so it just kind of was the life that I had at that time. And I was terrible at powerlifting. I just enjoyed it because it was something I could be competitive in outside of the military. So yeah, it was terrible at that. But once I got out of the military, I was able to really focus in and kind of get back into strongman, which I preferred. And I mean, since 2016, 2017, that's really been the trajectory of going through grad school and competing. It was not easy, but it was manageable. And here we are today. So it's been a long haul. I've had some really good turnouts at local contests, and then try to, make a couple shows at larger like national contests or like Platinum Plus, and completely gotten it handed to me. I remember the first time I ever ran into Richie Stout was Central Georgia's strongest man. And I was coming off this high from the year before, where I was the victor. And then the following year, Richie shows up and creams the entire competition. And for me, that was like my first big, introduction one to him, but then to that level of competition. And so that was for me huge to see like, all right, this is what the potential is like.
Yeah.
And give me a different target to kind of shoot for.
Yeah. I remember my first time. I always think it's interesting with strongmen because like people that lift weights are always like, these macho like guys. And my first time meeting you was at PA Strongest Man, I guess 2019 or something like that.
Yeah.
And you said that when you drove to the contest, you listened to a calculus podcast. And I was like,
I remember
it's like,
that.
what got
Yeah,
you fired up? And I was like,
yes.
dude.
Yeah, I'm a huge science nerd. I'm a STEM advocate, so to speak. So a lot of what I do is to kind of bolster, the teachings and learnings from the entire STEM community.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I've got some big things coming up later this year, actually, to kind of drive my career into a new direction, back into that path.
Cool. Well, Cody, what about you? You got coming off OSG. Now, what's the rest of the year look like for you?
Yeah, so coming off OSG, didn't have the performance I wanted, and so I'm really excited for the Arnold, and I'm actually changing a lot of little stuff in my approach to basically, I'm trying to make prep and training as low a stress as possible. And so what I'm like doing now, I'm just making a lot of like little changes, and just want to like not so much change my effort and how much I put into like the dedication and stuff, but basically just like still pursue it as like close to a professional level in terms of effort and like how exact and precise we get, but like I'm reminding myself like, hey man, you actually like doing this. So I'm trying to go into the Arnold with the most like happy, positive mental state I've had in a long time. And then as far as the rest of the year, I'm going to try and do the online qualifier for Clash, but I'm actually on vacation the very first week of the first event. And I just don't know if I'm going to be able to get the first event done. I have no idea what it's going to be. If it's like a barbell lift, I think I could maybe squeeze it in really quick. But if it's something specialized, I just don't know. So if I can't make it, I can't make it. And that's part of it. I might fly out to like hang out, maybe support the crew. But other than that, I'm going to take a really long, true off season, which I haven't done since like 2019. And I think I need to gain some weight. I haven't been over like 195 in like 4 years. So just want to kind of honestly, if I could get like 6 to 8 months of like no contest driven training and like just like get it all in, I think that would benefit me a lot. And then just whatever I got to do to get back to OSG, because I'll have to do another qualifier.
Yeah.
But that's really it for now. So at most, best case scenario, Arnold, Clash, OSG, but there's very possibly maybe just the Arnold and OSG.
Yeah, it was a quick turnaround for you guys because you had nationals in October and then straight to OSG in November.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I know how beat up I felt after nationals, and I mean, you guys, performing at the absolute highest level, truly 1 and 2 at nationals, and then going right into OSG. That has to be, for a top level competitor like both you guys are. I don't know if people realize how all these shows can really beat you up. It's, you're planning all this training around, it's strongman. So a lot of the movements are going to be very heavy. You'll have your medleys and stuff like that in there, but, training for a heavy deadlift and then a heavy yoke and, your whole year, it can really take a toll on your body. So, I see what you're saying, Cody.
We were kind of blessed this year with nationals and OSGs because there was a lot of overlap between some of the events, like the log and the sandbag, for example.
Right.
I think that we kind of just, and the yoke. So we kind of lucked out a little bit with some of those things, but it's not always like that, especially for those bigger shows. Sometimes you and that's the other crappy thing is you can't really fine tune your training for every single show. Like you have to really cherry pick and say, where do I have a better chance of doing really well? And then just put all your energy into that and then hope that you're at least conditioned and trained enough so you can then focus on some of the more important lifts during like that rest period between the two contests.
Especially if you like have been doing it long enough and it's like, all right, like, where your talents lie, you know what I mean? So like, if you are someone that like, let's say the split jerk, if you're someone that your jerk, your push jerk and split jerk are pretty dialed in, it's like, okay, I can kind of pull back on that type of volume to focus either on pulling or like static pressing, you know what I mean? Something like that. So that's also where experience, I think, comes into play and having a coach too.
Yeah.
Which has helped. That failed a lot in that realm lately. I've not had a coach for myself. It's not made it easier.
No.
What do you go? Never mind.
Yeah, hiring a coach has been the best thing ever because I coach people in person, not necessarily just for strongman, like high school athletes and stuff. And to be able to just, after I'm done coaching, turn my brain off and just look at my training is like, that's literally the best gift I've ever had. After being at the gym for like 4 hours, I want to do is like write down and like go back on my Excel sheet and see what I did. So it's been a blessing.
That was a conversation I had too. I'm just like, I hate like doing my own programming, but then I turn around and I'm like, on January 1, I'm like, all right, let's think about the Arnold.
Yeah.
You have maybe 8 good weeks of training. All right, well, nobody's going to want to really take you on with 8 weeks because then your expectations on that coach might be a little bit more, carry a little bit more weight, and they might not feel like they can give you what you need in 8 weeks for a big show like that. And so I'm like, just recycle shit that I've been doing for the same.
If you reached out, just saying, I think a good coach would acknowledge the situation, but I think there's talented people out there that could do it. But
definitely,
yeah.
Not to say that they don't exist. That's not to say that they don't exist. And I think maybe that's also me putting too much pressure on myself.
Yeah, I think one thing too, it's just human nature. When you do your own programming, how much do you overthink it, right? So it's like, yourself better than any human, of course. So you just, it's just so natural to put way too much thought, time, effort, and you go back and you make a change.
You can't be truly objective.
No,
I think people, and I'm not like adding Andrew on this, but I think people have 2 flaws when they coach themselves. One of 2, they either go way too fucking hard and like just pound themselves to death, or 2, this would probably be more for like novice intermediate types. They play too much to what they like or are already good at.
Right.
I do both of those things.
Yeah, I do too. I honestly think that's a really good point. It's a good balance of both.
Yep.
And that's a really good point, Cody. I think that's 100% it. But so let's get into some of the good stuff. So let's talk about the lightweight strongman class, all the exciting stuff, and just see what you guys think. So I got a couple topics I want to bring up. So first off, Clash. We Cody mentioned it a little bit, and Andrew, you mentioned you already got your invite from being podium at OSG, which I'm a fan of because that's one less person I have to compete against in online qualifiers. But how do you guys? I'm super excited for that. Like I mean, I'm gonna try to qualify. What do you guys like? How do you guys foresee this qualifying process going, and how do you expect the show to be ran?
Well, just given how Anthony's been running everything as of late, taking note that it's been started over the pandemic, right? Like applaud, right? Because
Right.
it's well deserved how much effort and how much has gone into it and how successful it's been. And I think it's showcased, but like I get excited to watch, right? Like, so that's saying a lot. I don't get excited to watch World's Strongest Man, like to watch, the big guys go. I don't care. I'll catch it next week or 2 weeks from now on YouTube, maybe a clip or two, but like Clash was something where like you can get behind it. And I think the other reason it's so easy to kind of, at least for me to get behind, is because you're watching your friends compete at the highest possible level.
Right.
And that's really cool too. So I think hopefully, I don't know, this is an opportunity for the U80s to demonstrate in this, outside of like OSG, in this sort of qualification process, that it's time to turn up and show up, right? So I'm really hopeful that there are going to be way more people submitting qualification videos than they have bandwidth to process.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that's the problem.
Let me just take a second to emphasize what you just said, right? Because this is a huge, this episode right now is going to be the most lightweight strongman we've ever had listen, because you guys are both on it, clearly. And listen back to what Andrew just said, because, and I'm sure Cody has the exact same thoughts, because if this class wants to continue to evolve and be looked at as a legitimate strongman class, I think if you have an undeniable amount of entries to the online qualifier, then that really shows Anthony and everyone involved in strongman, hey, this class will show out. They do have a large participation, they have a large interest, and we can continue to back them. But if we do the online qualifier and there's 16 people, that's not going to be a great look. So if you're an 80 and you're listening, please, even if you don't think you have a chance, I think I have a very far shot, but I'm still doing it.
I might not even be able to do the first event, and I'm still signed up.
Right. Yeah. Just sign up. So let me ask you guys, as like more of an intermediate novice in comparison to you guys, when you did did you guys both have to do OSG qualifiers or this past year?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when you do, so say there was that one that was like the sandbag carry for time, right? It was like as many trips as you, So how does that work? Like when you film the video for the online submission, you guys do everything on film, right? And then you go and in the same video, do you immediately go and weigh it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. It needs to be all one video, no editing, no cut together. Like you need to be prepared to do like a 5-minute video.
Yeah. That was kind of my question. So
I think I've even seen Lynn call out, not people directly, but make call outs on Facebook where he's noting, hey, athletes, as a reminder, do not edit your videos. Or you'll be disqualified.
So I'm sure, so I guess, because you get videos that are way over 10 minutes, right? So I guess the way they get away with that is if someone's video necessarily isn't competitive, they don't even really need to view it or question it.
And I think that's also.
Dude, sometimes I think he may, I don't know, like I think he might watch almost every single
How many submissions do you think he had this
year?
I
mean, because think of
look. I got in with the ground to overhead and the deadlift one. I didn't have to do from the year prior. I didn't have to do the sandbag one.
Oh, I should have did that year. I didn't.
So what are your guys' predictions? So Clash, I like the idea of the online qualifier a lot because
CrossFit
they've been doing it successfully.
Yeah. Right? Well, think about it. We were talking before the show of all the costs associated with traveling to a strongman show, right? If we had to go and I had to go to, I don't know, Cincinnati to go do a qualifier for Clash, I would be a lot less likely to do it because you have so much stuff going on throughout the year. Everyone has a personal life. The realistic view says that we aren't doing this as a full-time job as much as we would like to, and so it takes this financial stress off people to have to do it. So I really like that. But
Right.
what are your guys? So there's 3 events. What are your guys' predictions for what the 3 events are gonna be?
Knowing Anthony, there's going to be a deadlift.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
The overhead. He's got a thing for circus dumbbell. I feel like there might be.
That's my prediction.
It sounds like the circus dumbbell is about to make its redemption year.
I think Axel and dumbbell are going to make a comeback.
Yeah.
I think everyone, like, as much as log, aesthetically log is the like overhead event. I think everyone's a little burnt out.
Yeah.
And I think everyone wants, like, and also Anthony with like the belt clean thing. I wouldn't be surprised if he did Axel either out of a rack. That would be interesting, or circus dumbbell, one of those two for the overhead. And then I could see him doing some type of sandbag hold for time, or maybe like sandbag sandbag over something. I
did that bear challenge from Rogue.
Ugh.
I don't know if you guys remember that. I was this is going to be the easiest freaking man. I think I got like 2 minutes in and I'm like, nope. In the winner, some nobody from wherever held it for like 14 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have weight classes for that, right? It was just you would just go against Brian Shaw if he submitted. Like, I was like, dang, that's cool. Like, Rogue getting involved in that stuff.
Yeah. So handbag hold. God, I hope not.
Like, I think about it from my viewpoint. Like, if I'm trying to be realistic and like try to, because you can't really plan, you can't peak for that. That's what I like. You have to kind of just be ready, right? For these online qualifiers. I think about stuff that everyone can do. So like a circus, a lot of gyms have a circus or an axle. So I think that's a fair guess.
Yep.
I think a deadlift, because everyone has a barbell. If you're training strongman, everyone at least has like a power bar, at their disposal.
Yeah.
And then, the third, I would lean sandbag, because sandbag is a very easy item to have.
Yeah.
You think about like an Atlas stone, right? So I doubt that there'll be an Atlas stone in it, because the weight can vary so much, and weighing a stone is very hard, and regulating the height, that you can load to.
All those things considered, just what you said, 100%.
Yeah, that's why, like, think about how easy, like, if they do a max like triple on circus, like clean and press every rep, it would be very easy to film that and then just drop a circus on a scale, right?
Yeah.
So like that's what I look at, is something like that's a good event, but it's
logistically easy.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Sandbag to shoulder would be cool, like a 60-second sandbag to shoulder.
I would love that event.
Dude,
Kyle Bixler's got that in his show coming up. Actually, I haven't seen a sandbag to shoulder in a long time.
I've seen it
heavy series.
I've seen
I wish we'd see it more.
Like mid-level shows. I would love for us to do that.
I just had it at Ohio Strongest Man in in November, and it was actually a pretty heavy show, like for a local show. And like the lightweights was, I think 230. Ours was sandbag to shoulder for max reps in a minute, which is that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's heavy enough to going for 60 seconds. Yep.
Yeah, so I really like that event. Do you live close to that? Do you live close to where PA Dutch is going to be being ran, Andrew?
I think it is maximum in traffic, maybe an hour from me.
You should come out for it, because I'm going to be out there.
Are you? Okay. Yeah, I got.
We have I think 4 people from our gym competing, and then we're having a supplement booth there as well. So we're gonna have a booth for our. It's on March 12th.
Yeah. So I got one guy I'm coaching who's going to be competing there.
Yeah, dude, you should come out and hang out.
Right after, that's the weekend after Arnold. Yep.
Yeah.
I know he'll probably want me there too. That'll be my goal. I always want to be kind of where your athlete's going to be at, but sometimes.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
So yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that could be said with all of those qualifiers. Hopefully that
An axle deadlift.
There's one point that you said an axle deadlift would be cool.
Axle deadlift would be awesome.
So one point that you said too, I think, is that the actual athlete's readiness to do the qualifiers is kind of unique as well, because you're asking somebody to do something very specific in a very short turnaround. Unless you're a specialist, now it could be challenging. I'd like to see more of that at shows. Like, we're going to have a mystery event that we'll learn of 1 week out. I think we need more.
Yeah.
We need to see more stuff.
Andrew,
like
did you compete in CrossFit?
Yeah, I did. So I was a CrossFit coach for a while, and I did a ton of CrossFit. I did like a couple of like local CrossFit contests and things like that. Like, never got super serious into it. I was never 100% bought into CrossFit because there was just a lot of things I had learned before that I didn't agree with while I was there doing it. Yeah. So I liked it because it helped bring my conditioning up to a level that strongman wasn't giving me. And I was able to bring a lot of strongman into CrossFit. And so when I was in California and when I lived in Atlanta and I trained at CrossFit gyms, like when I went to Atlanta, I straight up, I went to this CrossFit gym, CrossFit Identity, knock on the door. The owners are like on an air assault bike. And I'm like, yo, can I bring in a bunch of strongman equipment and train in your gym? And they're like, yeah, whatever. Like, they didn't care. So it was like the greatest thing. And that, I bring all this equipment in, they allow me to train in this corner. So I'm doing all this weird shit in the corner, and people start taking an interest, and they're like, can we train with you? And after a while, I just ended up becoming the strongman coach for the gym and, doing classes like twice a week. And so it really allowed me to kind of be in that community, which I think is really important. We even ran our own little gym show. So I think it's really important when you talk about like novice competitors. And maybe, I don't know if I'm just going to end up leading this conversation in this direction, but when we talk about like making it accessible to future and novice lifters, making strongman accessible, I think that we need to really think about how we position ourselves, because a lot of those novice competitors might come from CrossFit. They're not going to be the size of a 300-pound individual who's doing crazy heavy deadlifts or anything like that, but that's where we're going to be bringing them from. So I think that we need to kind of consider all of that. And that's why it's important to really highlight what the U80s are doing, because that's the most attributable kind of size of
it's the most relatable size to it.
Relatable.
I have a friend of mine, I'm coaching my client next week, but another friend of mine is doing the same contest. He's doing the novice division, and he does CrossFit. That's all he does. And he's pretty good CrossFitter, but he's not a competitor. You know what I mean? But I was like, hey, on these days, we're going to do practice if you want to come and just do it. And he was straight up like, hey man, I'm just going to wing it. I'm just going to show up and have fun and get cool pictures. And if I have fun, I'll do another one and then I'll train for it. It's like, that's actually what we need more of.
Yes. And like, to backtrack to what Andrew was saying, it's funny how many people have that same exact story. So our gym is now in a 7,000 square foot like basement warehouse, and
awesome. That's huge.
We started in a CrossFit corner, exactly how you said. So my cousin is a CrossFit coach, CrossFit gym owner. He allowed us to have like, a 12 by 12 corner where we had a squat rack, our log, our drop pads, our stones, everything like that. And then more and more people, from the gym would see it. And like, then we started running a strongman Saturday. And then we started having 7 people, 8 people, 10 people, and then we ran a show and we sold out 40 people within like 2 weeks. So like, I think people are under that. It's like the misconception that it's for like just big guys that, like the world's strongest man, what you see, because that's what's always been highlighted.
What I was going to say though, is when I competed, I was really working hard to try and make regionals. I never did. But I was competing like a lot in CrossFit for a couple of years. And other than like 1 or 2 contests I did, this goes back to the Clash thing. All the contests I ever did, we never knew the events until like the week out. So like we just trained and then about a week out, we would test the events like that Monday or Tuesday before the Saturday.
Yeah, dude, my cousin's probably listening to this with a heart on right now because he owns a CrossFit gym, and he always tells me how strongman needs to get more like CrossFit in some of these things. Like, So
I mean,
just in terms of attracting
logistics and accessibility, like, and some of the media stuff, like I think Andrew and I both, like, we're in a couple of the same chats together, and like we end up kind of covering the same points of like accessibility and some of the media stuff. Like, that's definitely the models that they need to try and adapt in their own way. And I don't know.
You don't need to be 25 years old, 400 pounds, living on a CPAP machine. You can be like the same frame as we are and be just as competitive. If not, just be in a completely, because I think also between super heavies and heavyweights to lightweight, middleweight, they are completely different competitive types of classes.
Yeah,
which
and
is
I
why
want to highlight that too in a second. I will say too, you guys know Paul Mauser.
Yeah.
You guys know Paul is. He used to run a show in West Virginia, not far from me, and it used to be 5 mystery events, and you didn't find out till the morning of.
They're still doing it.
Yeah,
Somebody
are they
else is
still
taking it over?
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I don't know the guy's name. Somebody else has taken it over though.
Is Jerry Hanley taking it over?
It might be actually. I can find out.
Yeah, but Paul is always kind of like I was lucky when I got into strongman. Like I did show just a strength for autism, great cause and everything up here that he used to run. And I just fell on a good promoter. I think a lot of people, like a lot of pressures on promoters, because how many people, when you go to that rules meeting and the promoter says how many people it's their first time competing, if you're in a local show, sometimes it's 50% plus.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how I run a show, or how Cody Abell or how Andrew Hanus runs that show, is going to have a long lasting effect on that person. Because if it runs like shit.
My first promoter, dude, Lynn Morehouse.
There you go.
Oh shit.
There you go.
My standard was set pretty high, even though I did one of his level 2 parking lot shows. But I think we talked about this last time. Like, a show can be in a parking lot and
100%.
still be ran professional as shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can be in a Major League Baseball stadium and be ran horribly.
Yeah.
So I've mentioned the show already, but we had Ohio Strongest in November, and it was ran on a freezing day. You guys know, you guys both are Northeast guys, so you guys know how cold it is. So we're in Youngstown, Ohio, in November, in an abandoned warehouse. It's freezing cold, but that show was ran so good and awesome. And so it really, I think about it. My first 4 shows were all Paul Mauser shows. And then I went to a show to help out a training partner at my gym. And I obviously won't mention where, what, and it was ran. I was like, dude, if this was my first ever strongman show, I don't know if I would have even done it.
Continued. Yeah.
It's like one of those days. It's like a 15-hour day to get 50 people through, and
no, that's no good.
Yeah, you can just tell it wasn't thought about. It wasn't thought well through.
I've been on both sides of that too. Like where you see sort of, hopefully, like I've been in contests in the pouring rain, and you've got this glossy log that you're trying to press, and it's pouring rain as you just look up and you're just taking it right in the face. And it's just like, but the thing is if the promoters are smart enough, one, you got to think about safety, like safety first and foremost. But 2, coming to the athletes and saying, like, this is the situation. It sucks. Do you want to continue? So forth, so on. But then also seeing like some of those shows, as those shows have been run, those promoters hopefully are learning over time, right? And so like, next time we're going to do it undercover. And then, next year, well, we've got double the amount of athletes. We need double the amount of volunteers, or whatever it might take to keep the show running fluid. And I think what's a lot of local shows, I think there are some really popular local shows, annual local shows that just grow and grow and grow. And they get to the point where those promoters are so good at running those specific shows that a lot of other local shows kind of take the fall because, there's just not as much put into them.
Yeah. What's also crazy is too, like, you can't be that critical on promoters, because like what people don't realize is, you're like, every promoter and every person that helps out in strongman, it's really insane to think about the community we have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're doing it for free. And a lot of promoters lose money.
Oh yeah.
Running a show. And then you think about, how many shows have you been to where there's 20 plus volunteers? And it's like, I always think about it. I always do my best to go up to them and say thank you, for helping out for that day, because it's crazy that someone will dedicate an entire Saturday
And
to
they
help
get
move
maybe a
sandbags
sandwich.
so we can do that. Yeah, so we can do this like silly thing, right?
I love it because I've been to shows where athletes were like, all right, we're loading our own shit. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's just how it was because you didn't have those people
Right.
there. And it's just, I don't know, it's nature of the beast.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna shut up for a moment.
No, you're good. So when you compete as an 80 kilo, you weigh in at 175.4 or under, right? And
Well,
That's less than 80 technically.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
so
Yeah.
at OSG, it's 176 or but most of the time it's 175.4.
Right. So we have to be 176 or under basically. So
Yeah.
where can you guys explain like a lot of the competitive, almost all of the competitive 80s. And this was a huge wake up call for me at nationals this year because I walked around at 174. Like I didn't cut weight and I trained at 174 and you realize what do a normal, really competitive 80 walk around at? About what would you guys say?
I would say, well, I don't want to sound like a dick. Competitive, like someone that's in the mix.
Yeah.
Like if we're being honest,
Yeah.
I would say at a minimum, they're walking around, depending on height, anywhere between 186 and 196.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I think you do have your anomalies like Richie Yu. He walks around under 175.
Yeah.
Hasn't Tommy?
He'll have pancake breakfast before we weigh in, and I'm like,
yeah. Hasn't Tommy Lavelle talked about that as well? He actually walks around lighter than 175 and eats up to going into a show.
He
hasn't in years.
He actively gains weight in prep.
Yeah.
Whereas most of the time, you're going to find that guys are going to have to diet down in prep.
Right. Well, so you guys, and either of you guys can feel free to answer this, but so just use nationals this year as an example, right? We weigh in the morning, the day before the show. So you guys water cut, right, to get down to our weight class. And then what does immediately after look like? Because this is something I want a lot of people to hear. I coach a big group of wrestlers too. So I kind of want them to hear this as well about water cuts at a young age. I go back to this story all the time. I wrestled in high school and I think about the damage that I potentially did to my body because I had I liked my wrestling coach, but super old school method. And I'm like thinking, dude, I'm like in 10th grade and I'm a growing, kid going through puberty, and like how I cut weight in high school was so dangerous and detrimental. And it was like not good. So talk about like how you guys, so Cody and Andrew, you both just weighed in for nationals. You cut, 14 pounds, and 17 pounds, one of you guys. What do you guys do immediately after you weigh in, and what's that next day look like?
I'm going to let Cody take this because I think we both have similar but different approaches. So I'm going to let you start.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, my approach has definitely changed a lot the last year or so because the guy that helped teach me how to cut weight, he only used active means. So by active, I mean bike, row, like you're actually exerting energy, which that worked for me for a long time. But for me now, my approach is I want to do as little as possible and let the weight come off slower with little exertion. And I just now started using the sauna as my main means of sweating. And I respond really well to it. I woke up the morning of weigh-ins for nationals, and I needed to cut. I think I was like 179 or 180, give or take. I basically had to lose about 4 pounds, and that was like quite a bit. And we only had about 2 hours until weigh-ins, and I like to weigh in on the spot. And my coach was with me and he was like, don't worry. And we walked over to the YMCA and I think I cut the 4 pounds in the sauna I think I did one 15-minute sit and then one 5-minute sit. So I did 20 minutes of sauna and I shed 4 pounds. And then I went to weigh in, and for me, like the first thing I do is I just start pounding down water, and Gatorade or Pedialyte. But yeah, fluids for me is the big thing that I like to try and get in. I have a bad habit for my first meal. I'm trying to work on it. Is I tend to gorge, and that sort of like puts me into kind of a nap mode. But I still recover fine. But me like basically just trying to get in like a good 30 to 60 ounces of water within the first hour.
Yeah. And then, okay, cool. And then pretty much just basically like taper down into like normal eating again and getting
Yeah, I
more food in.
actually had really good luck. Other than me eating too much at once and just getting a little too full, I've never had any crazy. The only time I've had like bad refeed is like one time I drank too much salt too quickly, and I basically gave myself an enema. So I had to I drank like 5 packets of Pedialyte at once, which was a really bad idea. So I had to basically like eat an entire loaf of bread to solid my stomach up.
Yeah.
Other than that, like I just try and eat like I try and put an alarm on my phone to eat like a carb and a lean protein every 90 minutes, and then I'll snack on like Tostitos and drink some type of salted drink of some kind.
Yeah. I used to follow when I cut weight to be in the 80s. I used to walk around about like 185 or whatever. So pretty manageable cut. And I would follow Stan Efferding. He has a really interesting protocol after you weigh in after a water cut that he uses for strongmen, powerlifters, MMA fighters that are doing more extreme cuts. And I had my first bad experience on a refeed, and I couldn't figure out why, because I followed the protocol. And I got sabotaged by a training partner because he gave me the supplements that he used for Efferdings, and they were expired. I took like 3-year-old expired supplements that really messed up my stomach.
What was the supplement?
It was a full breakdown, and I didn't realize we had them for like 4 or 5 years, and they were all like solidified, and he made my shakes. So I think that's what messed up my stomach.
What were they though?
I can get you the breakdown here. 1 second. I have my full sheet. But yeah, he has so Efferding does his where he doesn't have any food for the first, I think, 90 minutes after you weigh in. It's all shakes.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking like whey protein shakes. It's like, salt, aminos, basically just getting rehydrated. So
the vitamins and minerals. Without
100%.
Yeah.
When you guys water cut, do you guys your last couple days go to distilled water, or do you guys just stay on normal water?
So
for me,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, I was gonna say I use distilled water the entire week of.
Okay.
I usually, if I have a really big cut, I'll bring it in. So if like weigh-ins are Friday, I'll bring them in like a day or two early.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have like a manageable cut, I'll just do it the last day. But like for the Arnold, I'm probably going to do a bigger cut than normal for me.
Yeah.
So I'll probably do distilled water, maybe for the majority of the load. I don't know. I have a nutritionist, but I hired someone to do the actual cut. So they're going to handle the last 10 days for me. But I have a feeling that'll probably be one of the approaches is doing more distilled water.
Yeah.
I did distilled water for 2 entire cuts, but they were my lowest cuts ever. They were from like 183. I just don't think it was necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. So Efferding shakes are, you put 32 ounces of water, you put a quart of water in, and then you do dextrose, fructose, sodium in tablets, or you can put it in the shake with you. But I just take the tablets. Caffeine with your first, and then your next 2, you don't have caffeine. BCAAs, digestive enzymes, and iodized salt. And that's kind of how he breaks down his shakes. And he has everything, like you can go in and he puts everything down. So your first 90 minutes, you do 3 shakes at 30 minutes apart. And it's always worked for me. But yeah, I had one bad experience.
No, I think given the first hour or so, doing like a just liquids is probably a good idea.
Yeah. But like, so, okay. So one thing I want to say, and I'm sure you guys can correct me if I'm making this up and putting words in your mouth. And this is something that has always blown my mind being at because before strongman, I competed in powerlifting for like 5-6 years before starting this. And no matter you're at powerlifting, strongman, whatever, anything that's a weight cut, for some reason, it's the culture that it's like cool to like, when you're standing around right before weigh-ins and everyone's kind of bullshit and like, waiting to weigh in. And as soon as you get off the scale, to shove donuts in your mouth. I don't think
I pray for the guys that do that because it's just for me. I'm like, good, fuck up your GI.
Right, but like it's for some reason
eat 3 handfuls of bacon in St. Louis at my first nationals right after weigh-in, and I was like, yo,
that desperate for getting in those little sweet treats or whatever meals you've been missing so desperately for a week or a month. Like, you need to reevaluate your situation.
Yeah, it seems like it's almost like more normal to eat like crap after you weigh in, and it's like cool. And I'm like,
because it's that immediate reward, the immediate satisfaction that they're looking for, and without keeping the long term, which is really the 24-hour goal, right? Because you weigh in and then 24 hours, your goal is to compete at your best and then do as good as you possibly can, hopefully win. But the short-term food reward is just easier to kind of.
I mean, to be fair though, too, like some of that, I mean, again, nutrition of any kind, whether it's refeed or throughout the year, is also very person to person. I mean, there's definitely a need in a refeed for like things that are going to just get in your body and get absorbed quick. So really fast absorbing carbohydrates are like a really good call. But yeah, I do. I don't know. There's definitely some choices that some people make, and I'm like, yo, this is just
a personal relationship.
Yeah.
Like,
I just think that's something.
Like, I'm a firm, like, it's my firm belief, and I think one of the reasons, like I don't know why I'm rethinking my approach on competing this year too, is I'm a firm believer that we only have so many weight cuts in our life.
Yes.
Before we start to really do some damage to our systems. Be it your kidneys, your liver, your GI, just your overall metabolism, things like that. And I don't know. I think it's really important to be as smart as you possibly can while you're doing these very dangerous water cuts.
Do you guys do IVs after you weigh in? If it's a bigger cut?
If I have it available, I'm going.
I did IV until this past nationals. I'd never done it before.
Okay.
I did it at nationals and OSG.
Yeah, that's something I'll be probably doing for the first time this year.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. It's worth
it. I've never had a cut more than like 8 pounds.
Worth it.
I've only done it twice, but this year I'm trying to get up to like 190, 193, somewhere in that range slowly.
Yeah.
I'll be doing it. I'll be doing it this year.
As long as someone that knows what they're doing can hook it up, it's
cool. There's a lot of companies popping up that offer it now at bigger events too.
These are one of those things that, like, if a normal person saw what you were doing and like asked, they're like, "Oh, why are you getting an IV?" You're like, "Oh, I just made weight for this thing that I pay to compete in."
Yeah,
it is. We have to acknowledge the lunacy of that. However, if you have a professional set you up with a bag and a needle, it's not one of those things. I don't think. Again, as long as you have the proper guidance, there's not really a downside to it. It's not like trying a different method for cutting weight where it could go wrong. Like, if a medical professional hooks up your IV and picks your bags, like you're going to be fine.
Yeah. I think like you guys weigh in on this too. I think after you weigh in, that 20 to 24, sometimes 26 hour window is where the real work begins, right? Because I think almost sometimes that week of like that weight cut, whether it's 7 to 10 day water cut, I almost think psychologically athletes need that sometimes to stay busy. Mm-hmm. And that's something I've always thought about.
I said this on an interview a while back, regardless of what anyone says, especially for our weight class, event 1 is making weight.
Yep.
100%.
I think you put all that work in to get down to that weight. You're doing yourself a disservice if you're not doing your homework and you're not prepared to eat correctly, hydrate correctly after you weighed in, because that weight cut's going to be completely wasted for that show that you're trying to win.
That's why I take, like, it's a very methodic kind of day after weigh-ins for me. Like, I take my
100%.
time doing
You have to be super anal.
I'd go on, I plan out, like, where am I going to go walk? Especially if, I'm visiting a city, I'm like, where's like a park where I can have like a 2-mile walk? Because I don't want to bloat. Right. So I want, especially after a meal, I want my system to start kind of functioning a little bit, maybe just a little bit of sweat, put some heavy clothes on, go for a 2-mile easy walk just to get things moving. Like, so I plan out that I'm like, all right, get on Google Maps. Where's our thing to walk? But you get some people that are just like, no, I'm going to gorge and I'm going to sit in my hotel room and do nothing. I'm going to feel like crap at 2 a.m. and then I'm going to wake up and do whatever I got to do. Like, there are things that you can do, and once you figure out what works best for you, your own routine, you kind of stick to that and build on that, or whatever it might be.
Yeah,
I think that's important.
People get cabin fever the week 7 days out. They start to go into panic mode where they're like, I need to get another squat session in, I need to get another press session in. I'm like, dude, trust me, you don't need to do that. You're not going to get stronger from now until
that weekly
the show,
your deload,
unless you rest. That's the only way you're actually going to get stronger, is if you rest, because your body's been going through hell for the last 8, 12, 16 weeks, however long you've been preparing. So you need to rest. I've caught so many powerlifters at our gym doing a heavy squat like 3 days out because they're going crazy. And I'm like, dude, your body's not going to forget how to squat. Your body is not going to forget how to squat. I promise.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, that's cool. I think it's important for people to kind of hear what goes on behind the weight cut. It's an interesting dynamic, and I think people do it very dangerously. I think that was interesting what you said too, Andrew, with your body not having that many. I watch the UFC every once in a while, and I think about like these guys that are like lifetime contract UFC guys that have fought 35, 40, 45 times in the UFC. And those cuts are dramatic.
That can be
the cuts they do in MMA are pretty wild.
Yeah. I mean, you hear guys cut
people helping them too.
Yes, they do. That is fair. And they are doing it for a living, most of them. But man, you got to think these 50-pound water cuts, like,
that's why I think, as kind of, your career in the sport evolves, one really needs to consider how much value there is in making cuts,
100%.
Which is why I'm super grateful that there's a 200 class now, because that's like, something I don't have to cut, just walk around and have fun.
So like to me, like somebody coming into a sport, no matter what it is, fucking tennis, alpining, strongman, like if someone kind of comes into a sport and starts killing it really quickly, that's awesome. Like there's a case study to be made, like, oh, what did they come in with? What talents did they have? But like, to me, like density and the prolificness of people is what really matters. So like, and they don't even have to, like somebody like Richard Yu and Richie Stout, like those guys have been in it since the beginning. And then you like go back even further, like Ed Cohn. Ed Cohn to this day is still the greatest power lifter of all time.
Not
and like
close.
he he talks about it all the time. Like he's like, I learned very quickly that if I competed more than about 2 times a year, now taking in mind powerlifting is a little different, but if I competed more than 2 times a year, that my body didn't respond well and I would get hurt and I had nagging injuries. So like, again, it's different because powerlifting is the same every time. Whereas a strongman, it's different events, but like taking into mind, like a weight cut, events, prep, like he was able to last so long because he didn't get caught up in the bullshit, and he had plenty of off-season training, plenty of rest. Like that dude's tendons are probably stronger than granite because he has 45 years of just like solid, not like grinding out the last 4 weeks of a peak, but that guy's got literally 40 years of like, I'm giving 100% effort to going 80 to 85% every day, which that to me, that's intensity.
That's the longevity aspect.
That's the biggest thing I try to preach to people is it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like Andrew said, he started in 2012.
Yeah.
Cody, what year did you do your first strongman
Yeah.
show?
I did my first strongman ever in the summer of 2014, but I was competing in CrossFit.
Right.
So
Well,
I
that's
did
Yeah.
I did a CrossFit competition the weekend before. I did a strongman contest that next weekend, and I only touched a log once, and I did the medley like a month out once. Then after the strongman contest, I went to work and worked the rest of the day.
yeah. Well, like that's what it's like strength training as a whole, like CrossFit, strongman, powerlifting, whatever, bodybuilding. Like there's no cute answer for like being if you want to be really good. Like if you just want to do it because you like it and you want to compete like 8, 9, 10 times a year at local shows, that's fine. But
Yeah.
like if you want to be really good, like elite, you have to really map out your year, come up with a plan, right? And be able to, to achieve that plan and that goal, because there's no cute answer to being good. It's a marathon, and it truly is a marathon. It's squatting under a barbell for 10 plus years, and then you should be pretty decent. It's
Yeah.
not,
Well, that's exactly. I feel like so many contests I've showed up, and there are guys, and they're like, "Oh man, like I saw you here, and I just, I knew I was gonna get crushed when I saw your name on the scoreboard or whatever they do in Iron Podium now,
yeah.
the athlete list, right?
Yeah.
And things like that." And I'm like, "How long have you been doing strongman?" "Oh, 5 months." I'm like, then I mean, you really, that's not the mindset that you need to have coming into those types of contests.
Yeah. Like your mindset should be
stressing yourself out over things like that when I have so much more experience in competitions than you have because you've been doing it for 5 months, right? So I think that's something that, the reality check kind of helps with a little bit too.
Yeah. I mean,
Don't take into mind that there's a lot that is not applicable from like field sports to this stuff. But there's also a lot that is. So like if you've been training and competing hard for 5 to 10 years, like you getting ready for a show, depending on the show, like it's not just, you need to put in the work if you want to do well, but there's got to be considerations. So like, all right, this show has, a stone over bar for reps. And it's like, okay, I've hit that stone at that weight 1,000 times in the last 10 years because you're that strong or your technique is that good. And it's like, okay, I don't need to necessarily be like, I don't have to hammer myself to death on each and every single event as much as it's like, I need to make sure the skill set and the technical stuff is there. And I just need to get my body prepared for the task at hand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where like training volume and experience, and it's like playing a sport, like a basketball player, like they need to be generally fit and prepared for the season, but they also like can rely on having their skill set and training volume in the past to kind of carry them throughout.
Right.
So I think that's something people tend to forget. Like, I was starting to get a little stressed out about the Arnold a week or two ago, and I went through the events. And other than like one thing, it's like I have done everything on this list of events so many times before. I know if I do all these other things like sleep, eat, not be a stressed out mess, as long as I do that stuff, like and get in the training, it's going to be there because everything's within like a certain threshold of my capability.
Yeah.
Can I say how nice it is to see a squat in a high level contest for the first time? Since I don't know, a long time. I can't wait to squat in a contest.
Right. I think just to backtrack real quick, like Andrew, what you were saying about, you have guys, and Cody, I'm sure you've had the same thing at local contests when you're doing a qualifier or something. Guys come up and like, yeah, dude, I know you're going to just destroy me. I think that's like the wrong attitude to have. And your goal should be, if you've been in it for like a year and a half, whatever, you're a novice, your goal should be, hey, I'm going to do my best, but I have this guy who's competing in the same class as me. He goes through the same preparation as me. He's doing the same weights as me. I'm going to pick his brain. I remember
That's what I think you get some of that sometimes, honestly.
Uh-huh.
You do get a lot of that. You do get some people that open up a little bit more than others. But especially if you're coming up and you've got at least a good athletic foundation where you've been training consistently and you show up like you and you dominate the deadlift, right? And you're just like, well, take that, fuckers, right? Like I love that. And I think like Richard Pranganaban, he's the perfect example of somebody who, right, like got involved and got interested in strongman, and then made his first debut at OSG and then dominated. But also what's to be said about things like that is, you know, he's coming up against guys who have a shitload of experience on that specific competition floor. And it doesn't matter what competition floor you're on, even experienced athletes can have mistakes and can slip up, right? Or just have a bad performance overall. And so sometimes like those guys who think, oh, this guy's going to crush me, but then you turn around and you're able to overcome them in a lot of events. Really, the points speak for themselves, you know?
You can be strong and you can be really fit and you can be really experienced, but another part of, I think those are two different things and they tend to coincide. But there's also something to be said, and this doesn't necessarily require experience, even though it comes hand in hand usually. Like, so when I started CrossFit and even when I started Strongman, really, I was not good or overtly gifted at anything really, but what I just naturally have been good at is competing. So like competing in and of itself is its own skill set. So like you guys are just saying, like, yeah, like pick your brains, talk to people, but like also like take chances and go take your shots when you can, because there's been plenty of people that me and Andrew have beaten that on paper and everything should have beaten us. But you know, it's like that stupid, what's that poem or that soliloquy, like the man in the arena. On any given day, anyone can be beat.
There's human factors that play into it, right? There's complacency. There's
competing and being in the gym. And this isn't me downing people that don't compete, but they put in the work in the gym. Like, I think those people are smarter than us. But
they have more money.
Competing is literally it's its own thing. And I think, at least from a mental aspect, like it's something that you can learn in any other sport. I mean, especially if you've done individual stuff. Team sports, I think it depends on what sport you came from and what your specialty was. You're going to be at a slight disadvantage because you haven't ever truly been alone on the competition floor. But being really good at competing is a whole other skill set that you can actually, like for strongman, you can be not that strong and you can still be a really good competitor.
Right. Absolutely. You can be well-rounded and you have the right events on a certain day and just get points. That's what I like about strongman. That's what I've always liked about strongman and versus powerlifting is powerlifting. I mean, minus a mistake where you open too heavy or something, you pretty much know about the wheelhouse you're gonna total, right? And you have a very good educated guess of what you're gonna total that day. You know what you're capable of because it's 3 static movements. Strongman, you have 10, 15, whatever guys, and it depends how other people do for how your points go, right? So I kind of like that aspect.
But also you got to think about the equipment, the stage itself, right? Because especially local shows, like best example, did a Conan's wheel last year on asphalt, and no problem, like it's sort of flat, but there might be a little bit of incline, and there's also a dip over here that you have to account for. And so if I set my pin height wrong, and you go 10 feet farther than me because you saw that dip and I didn't, like those are those little things that all of it's got to be pulled together. And if after you get that experience competing, you to look for those stupid little things, right? And then you put it together to build your win out of that, right? Combined with like all the, performance and like the training leading up to that performance.
Right. I remember the deload week before nationals this year, I wrote in my notes like 5 to 7 questions I wanted to ask you guys all at nationals, like when we were warming up and stuff. And I got all my questions off. And it was like I remember, because watching like Nick Gagnon, right? And then like competing because like it sounds corny, but like I like watching the 80s more than like you said, Andrew, like than watching the big guys because it's relatable to me. Like I go in the gym, I'm like, oh, this like, dude, Cody Abell just pressed like a 285 log, you know, like that's cool to me to watch because it's relatable because we're the same weight class, all that stuff. So to be able to get my questions off of nationals, that was a huge like weekend for me because I learned so much and I got to meet you guys and all that stuff. So if you're like, it all goes back to what Andrew said. Don't have that attitude where it's like you have that loser mentality. Take a positive from it so you can become a better competitor. Yeah, Andrew or Cody or someone that's more experienced may beat you, but learn so you can beat them.
Let's just put it out there. Like we are an incredibly friendly bunch. Like I've literally been told from like other weight classes how annoying it is.
Yeah.
How just chipper and just kind and, you know, just full of energy that the lightweights are to a point where it's not like, you know, nobody's like, yo, shut the fuck up, get out. Right. Maybe in powerlifting, you might get that, but like you really do. And then strongman, like it's encouraged. And then it starts to like, you know, it's a little infectious. Like that starts to vibe out and the rest of the community start to kind of, you know.
I think a part of that is because, so unlike weightlifting and powerlifting, where you get to decide for a powerlifting or weightlifting meet, you decide how hard of a meet you want to have. Like, do I want to only worry about hitting my training maxes? Do I want to try and hit lifetime PRs? This, that, and the third. So like everyone's able to be a lot more myopic and in their own lane, which that's not good. That's not bad or good. It's just different. I think with strongman, other than maybe some max lift events, which are actually a lot more rare than people realize, we all are tasked with the same exact burden to overcome. So like, it's a lot harder for someone like, if I'm competing in the same weight class as John Hack at a powerlifting meet, like I can't relate to anything he's doing because he's only a little bit bigger than me, but he deadlifts 900. You know what I mean?
Insane. What's he seems to be walking around at like 240 now, right?
He's okay. He's at minimum 220. But what I was saying is with strongman, by and large, we all are given the same exact burden. Like we all are carrying the same yoke, the same sandbag. So it's like CrossFit. We're like, yo, Matt Frazier did this open workout. I did it too. So I have an idea of how much it sucks. I know it sucked just as much for him, but at a different level.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So I think that's why, like in strongman, especially the smaller weight classes, is like we're able to like connect with each other because we're literally doing the same exact thing.
Yeah. Like if we don't, that's a good point. If we don't, like if we get dealt a shitty hand and we don't get a good warm-up period on a yoke or something, we all kind of understand and we're like, you know, not like that ever happened or anything, but
not that would ever happen.
But
I don't know about you guys, but that always happens to me.
Yeah. But let me rapid fire. So we had a couple Q&As we put out on Instagram. We'll have to have another get together soon for another recording of this because I really enjoy this and I learn a lot. But let me rapid fire some questions and you guys kind of just give a brief answer, whatever you think. Oh, I had to ask Justin Weaver. My legal obligation was ask how much you guys bench because he let me Photoshop my face on him. What's your guys' max bench?
On a good day, maybe 335.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at too.
Like I don't bench.
I've been doing close grip recently, and I just hit a heavy set 5.
You should only be doing close grip. That's not true only, but in prep for a contest, only close grip.
Yeah.
Let's ask, like, can we reverse ask and say, like, what is Justin's bra size?
What Justin push press? Because he certainly doesn't know how to do that.
Yeah. Justin, what can you push press?
What strongman event would you guys never like to see in a comp again?
Never like to see in a comp again. Holy crap. Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
To just in general or have to do?
Have to do. We'll say this person didn't specify, but we'll say have to do.
Man, you know what I don't like, and I think it's a common one. I don't like front handle car deadlifts.
Ooh, I've never had to do that, so I don't know.
They're not.
I had to do it at PA Dutch.
I don't like those.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that because that's something they see all the time. Otherwise, like I can only really think of like stupid one-off sort of.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
That you only see once in your life. So it's hard to really pinpoint those. Yeah, for a common event, that's what I'll say.
For me, it's all about the frequency. So like, I'm really over conventional deadlifting at the moment. I want side handle to make a comeback, which it kind of is, I think, a little, but basically like variations of the deadlift besides conventional. Just for a little, give everybody a break. I think this the Eddie Hall 500 kilo thing is like
Tapered out.
4501 is like, I think it's really thrown things off track with the variety of deadlift variations. So
a lot of people have been getting hurt working on those as well over the past couple of years.
Well, it's because every big contest they're making people max out. It's like,
I think it seems like an event comes and goes in waves, right? So like you see like a conventional deadlift for like a long time, and then like we were talking too, like log just, it seems like this last year or so it's just been nonstop log. It's like a lock at every show.
When I got into this, when I very first started, it was car deadlift, keg, circus dumbbell, or just press medleys. There for a minute, I think
a press medley, yes,
yeah,
where you would do log, axle, keg, or some variation. I miss press medleys like that.
I like variety. I like keeping it weird. I like keeping people guessing. Like, I think if you just have a conventional strongman show where it's going to be like one of like it's going to be 5 of 7 or 8 events, I think that kind of takes away like the coolness of what strongman is. Like press a motorcycle at a show, like have a squat, have a I just like changing it up. So I don't really have one that comes to mind, but I just, as a gym owner, I want to see as little amount of stones as possible because I hate tacky.
Yeah.
As deep as we all kind of get with ourselves into prep and all this very unnecessary, not to sound dramatic, but some of this like mental trauma we put ourselves through in preparation for stuff.
Oh yeah.
I just want the events to, I mean, obviously they hurt in the middle of them. Let's be very clear.
Right.
Strong hurts a lot. It's like a 1 rep max that lasts 60 seconds. Like, I just want events to be fun and cool. You know what I mean? And whether they're cool because they look cool or whether they're cool because it's a novel thing, like let's just like, it's supposed to be weird and wild. So just embrace that.
Right. Yeah. And also, and like weird and wild, but keep the athletes in mind. I think if you're a promoter too.
No,
like, 100%. I know what you mean. What do you guys have to, like, personally, like Instagrams, stuff like Dante, our producer, he'll put your guys' Instagram handles like by your guys' faces for the Zoom tonight when this comes out. But what do you guys gotta talk about? Like, what do you have personally to promote, like for yourself as a competitor or as, a professional, like where people that are listening to you guys for the first time, what do you guys want them to check out for you guys?
You can go, Andrew.
Well, I was just reminded as we were sitting here on this call that that the DECA event that I was mentioning, so the website I actually already posted on my, what do you call that? The link tree. So like if you go to the profile and you click on the link tree, it's one of those links. I don't have shit up there yet, but it's just like a blog site. So I'll be doing some more blogging this year. I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to watch. I'll try to adhere to what I've laid out for myself along this adventure. So I think it'll be kind of fun to see, like, so here's a fun tidbit. 2 weeks before we went to nationals this past year, I did a Ragnar race, which is a 24-hour race, trail race. So basically it was running in the dark in these trails. So, it's going to be things like that I'm trying to put myself to the test. And I'm not trying to win anything, but I am trying to do like the best that I would do. So I think that that's kind of what I've got going on for the most part. I'm really like, don't ask me about training. Everybody always messages and asks about training. I'm very, very picky about it, and I don't really like to do it. I think that there are a lot of other awesome people out there. So I do, the training that I do for people, it's more on a personal level that I do that kind of stuff. So there are so many awesome coaches out there. Like, just go find a coach. I think that's all I got really to say. I don't really have any business or anything like that. So like, I'm not trying to make money off my little DECA event or anything like that. I don't know.
What about the warrior dog stuff that you post
Oh
all
yeah.
the
My
time? I think
dog
that's pretty
literally
cool.
just left.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool.
So yeah, I don't know. Many people know, many people don't know. Some people just like the dog pictures when I post them online. But I was a military working dog handler in the Air Force. And so me and my dog, who is retired and at home with me, we are a bomb detection team. And so when that canine was at the end of his service, some of these dogs are deemed unsuitable for adoption and are euthanized. Military doesn't care. They're a piece of equipment. It's the most unfortunate reality that you can kind of take away from the canine world. The Warrior Dog Foundation was started by a Navy SEAL about 10 years ago almost. And he basically said, there is no canine that is beyond rehabilitation. And so he has a kennel. He takes these dogs in, he rehabilitates them, and then he finds suitable homes for them to go to. And so my dog Benny was actually one of the fortunate cases where he went to the kennel facility. We were able to work things out, and then I was able to go pick him up from the kennel facility. So it was kind of like an intermediate exchange between the military and him coming home with me. So definitely check out the Warrior Dog Foundation if you are into dogs at all. It's kind of fun to watch, and especially considering like what these canines have done for our country. They deserve the proper retirement. So yeah, I do a lot of work in helping them. So we're always doing fundraisers. So if you want to drop $5 to Warrior Dog Foundation, we will thank you greatly for that. We have 30 dogs right now, so we're way over our kennel limit at this point. So even if you are interested in potentially adopting one of these canines, there's an adoption form that you can fill out. We review them periodically and we go through and try to see if it's a good fit. So yeah, that's actually a really important kind of cause that I run. So thanks for plugging that. I didn't know if that was the proper play. If this was the proper place to plug
good,
that.
Man.
Yeah.
Cody, what about you?
Yeah. So my like training personal Instagram, feel free to follow that. It's just Strongest Tattooer. I'm like kind of limiting how engaged I am in terms of like in the social media world of strongman for a while right now. But I'll answer any DMs that are sent my way. I'm doing some coaching, but kind of like Andrew, I am not a coach per se. What I'm doing is I'm helping a really good buddy of mine out, and I think I'm getting more out of it than him. So any coaching would be, you'd have to live around here and we'd have to like have a really long talk, not so much about expectations as far as what I would expect, but just like whether I think I have the time to give you what you deserve. Any training content, I do have some stuff I want to put out for free. Like I did the 9 mag program last year and a half ago for tattooers, but anyone can do it. I did write a farmers and sandbag supplement carry program that I'm going to publish that anyone can throw into whether it's CrossFit or bodybuilding. And then my work account, Cody Abell, is my tattoo account. If anybody wants to get tattooed, let me know. More than happy. I tattoo a lot of people in the strongman community. Everybody wants me to tattoo at the contest. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But if you come to the DMV and get tattooed, we can hang out, maybe get a training session in too. Because I'm not going to compete that much this year, just because of life. And, I kind of just want to train more just to train than compete at the moment. I want to try and get involved, not just in strongman. I just kind of want to be kind of a presence, just literally just to be someone that can kind of be welcoming to newcomers. So I don't really know yet how I'm going to do that. But if you've got events or if you've got anything in the DMV area, and I could probably travel as north as Baltimore-ish, maybe Philly, or as south as like Richmond-ish. If you've got an event, something, even if you just need me to volunteer, I'll do that. I think people maybe like me, Andrew, anybody that maybe gets a little more notoriety in the sport or the weight class, especially, I think we could probably, all of us, it would probably be helpful if we were just at some events just to be there to help and not compete. So I'm actually going to reach out to some folks. They like, hey, like, is me just coming down Saturday as a loader going to be helpful? Like, what can I do as maybe one of the more visible 80s that could benefit you guys and the people? I also want to try and figure out a way that, like, if there's anything I can do to, like, not trick people into doing strongman, but strongman in terms of just accessibility, in terms of doing a contest, it's pretty low cost by comparison. But I think the makeup of the landscape can be a little off-putting and intimidating to people. I think strength sports in general have a long way to go in terms of being, like, truly diverse and equitable. So I want to try and, if anything, do what I can to, like, more people that have an interest in it that maybe don't feel like they would be welcomed, to do what I can to see if I can help with that. Just because this is a very selfish, self-centered hobby. If you want to be good at it, there's no real way around it. I mean, whether you're a triathlete or a powerlifter or weightlifter, like, it's a you-centric thing. And that's I think a lot of people need to come to terms with that, in that you're not a bad person, but, like, you can't fool yourself into thinking, like, oh, I'm doing this because I want my family to be proud of me. Like, yo, if you need to win an event for your family to be proud of you, that's not your family. You know what I mean? Like, your family is already proud of you. Like, if you're doing something that makes you happy, they're proud of you. So I don't know. I just want to try and make this very self-centered hobby have some sort of outreaching effect of any kind. And I'm still trying to figure that out. So if anyone out there has something going on that I could help with, like I said, even if it's me coming down to load weights at an event, I'd be more than happy to. And that's really it.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate the time. I hope we can do it again here in the next month or so and make it a regular thing, get some visibility, and just get talking about our class in general. So I appreciate you guys.
80 wrap up after the qualifier.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
You're gonna have a whole U80 series on your podcast channel.
Fine with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
We will talk to all the listeners.
Gosh, are you guys going to come to the Arnold?
Yeah. I'm going to come.
It's so close.
I'm going to film an episode out there. So
Okay.
We'll have to see. I know you guys are going to be competing and stuff, but we'll see how many, if we could do like a 80s, like something while we're out there, that would be awesome. We'll have to talk.
That sounds good.
We definitely could.
Let's set it up like they do with, like, actors when their movies come out.
Yeah, we'll have a we'll have to bring the actual green screen out and stuff, and have Dante bring all his cameras and the mics and everything.
Oh,
we can do it big.
I'm talking with CJ Krause about that. He used to run a
Oh,
pod.
I have to mention his deadlift too.
Oh, that's this weekend.
He's going for it this upcoming weekend. So he said he wants to hit 725 his third attempt. So that'll be huge.
And I'm pretty sure that's not in a suit.
No, it's not. He's never been in a suit. He's never been in a suit.
Can you believe that? That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it.
Oh, he's definitely
He's gonna pull over 7, I believe. So.
Oh yeah.
But
definitely.
man, thank you guys so much again for coming on, and I really appreciate it. And man, we'll talk to everyone here soon.
Right on. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it too.
Thank you.
It's